Hello, listeners. This is Jesse.
This is Greg.
And you're listening to Spoilers Are Good, Actually, a podcast where we revisit some of our old favorite shows and talk about how knowing the ending affects our experience the second time through.
Today we're watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. We are on Season 1, Episode 4, The Warriors of Kyoshi. The format of this podcast is that we will start off with a spoiler-free section where we discuss the episode as though that we are watching it for the first time. And then we will move on to a spoiler section. The podcast is called Spoilers Are Good, Actually, so we do encourage people to listen to that part, even if you haven't watched this show.
Great. And one quick content note, we are a PG-13 show. This is a kids' TV show, but this is not a kids' podcast. We won't be going any darker or more mature than the actual content and themes of the show, but we will be using adult language, so viewers, be warned. So this is a fun episode. Very funny and lighthearted, kind of in contrast to how dark episode 3 was.
Yeah. This one feels... it feels more like a filler episode than the other ones do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some really good character work, but the plot kind of stands on its own.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of exploration about kind of more insight into the Avatar cycle. We learn about Avatar Kyoshi, who is this woman who is very important to Kyoshi Island, as you'd imagine. It's very distinct. They show a lot of fans as kind of being her central, thematic element. We don't get too much on her, honestly, but it is interesting to note that.
Yeah. You want to get right into our 10-word summaries of the plot of the episode?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So my 10-word summary is Sokka Sexist, Suki Hot, Aang wants mom's attention, small growth.
My 10-word summary is the one where Aang realizes he can't just fuck around. And, you can kind of see what we focused on by looking at our summaries. You looked at each individual character, and I just looked at, what's generally happening. I feel like the biggest thing that we got out of this, especially from Aang's point of view, is that he can't just go to a place that he really likes and just hang out there, because Zuko will follow. Zuko will burn anything in his path to get to him, and it is not feasible for Aang to just sit in one place that he really likes.
Yeah, there's really two pretty separate plot lines happening in this episode. The one with Aang and kind of Katara on the side of that, and then Sokka and introducing one of the best characters, Suki.
Yeah. We don't see Zuko being all that important this time around, which is a big contrast to last episode, where, Zuko had a huge thing going on that was completely separate from the rest of the plot. This time Zuko just shows up, burns shit, gets thwarted, and leaves.
Yeah, he's not very important this episode.
But with Aang and Katara, we're mainly seeing the dynamic that we have where Aang is, he's a monk. He very much emphasizes that. He does say it out loud. We see aspects of it here and there, but at heart, Aang is a child. He's a 12-year-old who wants to do fun things. He wants to be validated, and he wants to be recognized by his peers and people that he respects and loves and cares about. And we saw that kind of coming to a head with him and Katara, because he a lot of the things that Aang wanted to do was just to show off, often to girls who were around his age, probably a little younger, but he really just wanted Katara to pay attention to him.
Yeah, it's got very strong child acting out energy.
Oh, I thought of it more as notice me senpai energy.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think it's well compared to Bella Swan going cliff diving and riding motorcycles when Edward leaves her in Twilight. None of these analogies really make it sound particularly mature, which is the point.
I mean, I think that another thing that really shows is kind of the audience that Nickelodeon is like aiming at during this episode also. This feels like a plot that you would see typically in early aughts, like children's animation, where it's like two people are not getting along. They're upset with each other, but they really want each other's like validation and attention. At some point, somebody says the other one's jealous. That's always like the line.
Oh, God.
That's always the line that really kind of pushes it over the edge.
It's so dumb.
And then, but they end up making up in the end, and everything turns out to be fine.
That jealous line is really something, because I think it's clearly meant to be like in a romantic way, right? Like, you're just jealous that all these other girls like me, and that's absolutely not what's going on. But I do think that Katara is probably like envious in a way, or like resentful of the fact that Aang is going and just like having fun and goofing off while she has to be in charge again. And she's doing all the responsible stuff, and she's taking care of them, and she's getting supplies, and she's planning their journey, and she's being her mom self, and Aang doesn't care and doesn't want to help. So I think that she probably does have a little bit of like jealousy for his ability to still like be a carefree kid in a way that she never really has been.
That's a good point. Yeah, I can see that Katara probably was at least a little bit jealous. I can even buy that like she was jealous of the attention that he was getting. But it feels like there are more facets to that jealousy than just you wish that, like you're just upset because all these girls are paying attention to me and it's not you. The way it was portrayed by Aang seems a bit more one-dimensional than the way I would imagine it was actually seen. We could be being less than generous to Aang, but it doesn't seem like there was too much else to it from Aang's point of view.
No, and I mean, I think that was kind of the point.
Right.
Is just him not quite seeing the seriousness of their situation yet. But yeah, I do think by the end of the episode, we definitely see Aang, growing a little bit and just kind of taking a little more responsibility for what's happening around him. I do really like, as silly as it is, for him to like squirt the Unagi like a fire hose.
It was great. I love that part, man.
It's ridiculous.
It's so good.
But I don't know. I think that that's a nice like little parallel that he's like using the thing that that's what was getting him in trouble before. And now he is like changing his perspective on that and using it to help people the same way that his perspective of like his goal in this journey has changed through the episode.
That's a good point. I don't have too much else to say there. This is I feel like it's kind of a refreshing episode, even from the like Aang Katara point of view. And so, it's not particularly deep, especially from that plot line's like standpoint. Moving on to Sokka and Suki.
We have a very like basic elementary school picture book version of feminism going on here, which I'm not mad at per se, but it's a little like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's the kind of lesson that you really hope your 8 to 10-year-old, pulls away and, gets the general gist of it. But then you get a little bit older and you say there's a lot more nuance to this. We're still really emphasizing, masculine traits as the good thing, good job, and less masculine traits as the not as good thing.
Yeah, this is honestly the most like after school special this show ever gets, and thank goodness for that, because I don't think I could handle it if we did much more of that. But no, you're right. The version of feminism that they seem to be pushing is just like women can be badass too, which like sure, but as adults, I think that feels like a very basic tenet of feminism, and there's really also no room for men to be more feminine in this kind of narrative that they have set up.
Yeah, but we can give them a little bit of credit there. Sokka did wear the regalia. He wore the quote unquote dress. He got the makeup.
Was embarrassed and teased about it the whole episode.
My Sokka Sexist Count, I think, ended at 6. So first one, sexist, because he's like the whole pants thing with Katara. Girls are better at sewing and things like that. And she's like, finish your pants. The second one was like immediately after they got ambushed. She's like, there's no way a bunch of girls could take us. Third one, like literally the next day, Katara's like, Sokka's just mad because he got ambushed by a bunch of girls. And then Sokka's like, sneak attacks don't count. Fourth one.
What a scrub.
You're just a bunch of girls. I'm just here for a workout. Normally I'd hold a grudge, and then he gets his ass whooped. Fifth one, when he actually had the dress on, their uniform. It's like, it feels girly. And then the sixth one, when they were being attacked by Zuko, the village elder came and said, girls, come quickly. And then Sokka's like, I'm not whatever. Which,
side note to this whole sexism plot, I just want to know how we are in Kyoshi Island with the Kyoshi warriors, all about, badass women named after a woman, and there's still some random old man in charge.
That's a good point that I didn't realize until you, said it while we were watching it, and I was like, wow.
It's one of those things that does it actually, make a big difference? No. Does it bother me? Yes. It's just ridiculous.
But, at the end of the day, it's still, we can critique it, till the cows come home, because it's not a perfect plot. But it's not a particularly bad one. They still get their point across. They still hold the right, people in the right light. They make it very clear that Sokka is being ridiculous.
I also really like that they had Sokka straight up apologize twice. Aang also does a really good apology in this episode.
Right.
And I can always just really appreciate, especially in a kid's show, kind of modeling a respectful apology.
Yeah.
And none of them are perfect, but they are all nice. And that's so important, because I think that it would have been so easy to just kind of, I don't know, brush over it and show that they changed without them having to, acknowledge that they were ever wrong.
Yeah, the power of a genuine apology, really. I also, as far as Sokka's apology goes, it's actually really, I don't know if you remember this, but it's literally the next scene or something like that. It is. Sokka's like, girls, I'm gonna fight you. I'll be fine. Gets his ass whooped. I think maybe they pan over to the Katara Aang plot, and it's not even a long little bit. And then immediately after, they show Sokka pacing outside. You see he comes to the conclusion that I gotta do this. Goes in and he immediately goes on his knees and I apologize. I'm sorry. That I don't even know. I feel like they probably used loaded language and said treated you like a girl when I should have treated you like a warrior or something.
Oh yeah, that's almost an exact quote. Which
again, this is just another thing where it's we see what you're trying to do and we understand the ideas that you're trying to get across, and we do respect that it's for kids.
It was for 10-year-olds in 2005.
Right.
And given that context, it's hard to complain.
Yeah. I think that's, I don't have too much else to say on that.
Yeah, I think we're definitely ready to move into the golden fuck. Do you want to give your nomination first, or...
What we'll do is we will start off with a nomination from friend of the pod, Jane, has given us a nomination for a golden fuck, and I think we should recognize it here. From the message from her, it says, I have a nomination for the golden fuck, mouth foam guy. Just a long, drawn out fuck as he collapses on the ground. And mouth foam guy is really, it's really a shame that we didn't go over him more. He is iconic. He defines this episode. And just freaking out over the Avatar and just sneaking a good long fuck in there as he's passing out from whatever is going on with it.
It's a really good one. Did you have one of your own to nominate, or did you just want to pass on that one?
I had one. I don't like as much as Jane's. And it's when after Aang and Katara get like saved, like protect themselves from the Unagi, and they're like on the shore and they see Zuko's ship, and Katara just goes, Zuko. That's when a good fuck would be fitting, especially because she knows that like shit's about to go down. I like Mouth Foam Guy better than mine though, so like if you've got something that tops both of those, please tell me.
Well, I'm not saying that it necessarily tops those, but I do have another nomination.
Okay.
So when that guy starts painting Aang, and he starts his painting, and he's like, oh yes, gonna paint the Avatar. And then he keeps like looking up, and there's more girls, and every time he does it, there's more girls. And specifically, the third time that he does that, there is like twice as many people as in the last one. And specifically then is when I want him to say fuck. And then that's what makes him give up and go. Because that's just, that is my favorite moment of this episode, personally. It's just so funny. The line delivery is so good. How that man is just like muttering, and I don't know. I find it very relatable.
I mean, you are an artist, so I feel like
more.
You can.
There's more of them. Oh, fuck.
I feel. So I like both of these, honestly. I'm gonna have to start nitpicking. I think that my biggest concern is the delivery of Mouth Foam Guys. Because he's got a foamy mouth at the time. I don't know how he's actually able to like say it. I can imagine somebody else is saying fuck because they noticed Mouth Foam Guy.
Yeah, I still think it would be good. Even though you wouldn't really be able to understand him very well.
Okay.
But I do think, since, you can only pick one. Like, I would like to have both. I think both would be very funny. But if I had to just have one, I mean, I'm biased, but I would give it to the painter.
And I feel bad because Jane's not here to defend her nomination. But I think I'm also leaning towards the painter. But Jane, you did beat me. So
it's a close second.
You beat half the pod in the running for the golden fuck. So thanks for contributing. I don't know how many people are going to hear this in the near future, but if you've got any more suggestions for the golden fuck, we will take them, we will consider them, and we will give them their fair shake because I have bad ideas. So
yes, please. We would love more listener nominations. That was really fun.
And so now we move on to the spoiler section. So before we get into the spoiler section in earnest, I wanted to make a few corrections to last episode. I said a few things just off the top of my head from things I remembered, and they're not 100% accurate, and I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. If I'm wrong and anybody hears this, let me know. I'll correct it later. First, I believe I called the martial art that Earthbending is based off of Hungar. I believe it's called Hunga Quinn, actually. It's kind of a minor correction, but I wanted to properly say the name of the martial art. It's a southern Chinese martial art. Apparently it's a Shaolin style also. Also, and this I think is the more glaring error, I said the name of the current Dalai Lama incorrectly. I said his name is Gyatso Tenzin. His name is Tenzin Gyatso. And he is currently still alive. Those are the main ones I had. Jesse will probably tell me if I had anything else. Enjoy the spoiler section.
So we need to talk about moms in Avatar, I think. Because just this episode obviously brings up a lot about just, sexism and gender roles and women in this show. And I can't think about that without thinking of the fact that nobody has a mother.
Yeah.
There are no moms in this show except Katara.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, like what? Katara and Sokka's mother's dead. Aang, Aang's mother is dead just by virtue of the fact that all of his people are dead. Equality. Toph is estranged from her mother and father. Zuko's mother disappears. And then we don't see mother figures really for any of the like tertiary or secondary cast either. But we do see father figures. Like, we've got Bato, I think is Hakoda's their father's name. Bato's their friend.
Yes.
They've got we even got Haru. Not Haru, sorry. Haru. His father is the one in the prison.
Yep.
There's also the wheelchair.
What's his name? I want to say Teo.
Yeah, I mean
T-E-O?
it's Icarus and Daedalus. I don't know exactly how you pronounce that. Those characters also. Like Teo has a father figure. That is the Daedalus character. But there are very few motherly figures in the show, and it's strange when you think about it that way. When you take a good step back at the whole thing, and you realize the show overall, it doesn't put a premium on traditionally feminine traits.
Yeah, you have women who are allowed to be, very strong and fighters and cool and badass. Although I have my own thing about calling
boss.
Girls
Girl boss.
badasses. But
Girl boss.
You have plenty of these characters in this show, which is great. And I love them. But as soon as you have women who are not very physically strong and have a lot of masculine traits, they die. All the moms before the series, Yue comes to mind.
Yeah.
She exists just to die.
I
don't know. It just sucks because I wish that we had more value on more traditionally feminine attributes just from anyone.
Yeah. There's also someone would probably want to talk about Zuko's mother, who is not actually dead. She's just gone from the plot, and the search does involve all of that. I'm not a huge fan of the plot of the search myself, but
it also makes Ursa suck. It makes me hate her. And it's just it's one more way that it is so clear to me that the writers of this show have issues with their relationships with their mothers. And that is coming through in the show, whether they like it or not.
At the same time, we love Suki. Suki, her introduction here is basically to be the person that teaches Sokka about sexism. But we learn later on that she's actually pretty multifaceted. She's very much a leader type. She's the kind of person that wants to take care of and watch over everyone that she loves and care about, including Sokka, even when Sokka thinks that he's defending her. We see that later on. And then I also love the fact that we don't see Suki outside of her warrior gear this entire episode. And it doesn't even occur to you really until you see her without her makeup on the next season.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
Yeah, Suki is really an excellent character who, by the end of the series, she is as much of a part of the group as the other 5.
Yeah.
But we always forget about her and we always leave her out.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Justice for Suki.
Justice for Suki. I'm a big fan of Suki. This is also kind of the beginning of Sokka's character growth. This is when Sokka begins to become a character that doesn't just suck. He still kind of sucks in various places and ways throughout the series, but that's just because he's human. Sokka begins to learn that the world is bigger than his little village and that there are people out there that can teach him a lot. And he shows immediately that he wants to learn. He does this with Suki. He also does it with his sword master. Master Piandao. Thank you.
Yeah, Sokka certainly talks a lot of shit and has a big ego. But deep down, he's much more caring and has the ability to be humble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that humility is a thing that we didn't see before. It's him apologizing to Suki and the Kyoshi warriors is actually very different from almost anything we've seen from him before. And it's one of his greatest strengths, I think. Mm-hmm. His ability to kind of swallow his pride and admit that he is lacking in this way, and immediately go, I need to figure out how to fix that, how to be better. And I really like that about Sokka.
Yeah, and it's nice that he can do that without just, like, swinging into a place where he doesn't have any confidence. Mm-hmm. He's still very confident. Right. But he is able to eventually admit when he's wrong.
Right. Yeah. I think he, more than most of the other members, has a very accurate assessment of his own abilities relative to everyone else's. And what that usually means is that he properly estimates himself while other people underestimate him. That's my personal opinion. He knows that he's very smart, he's very clever, he knows how to handle things, and he's courageous. But he also knows that, like, he's outmatched in a few places, and he can't just take things on without help. And I think the ass beating he got at Suki's hand was, like, the beginning of him kind of realizing that.
Yeah. So I did also want to talk about Avatar Kyoshi.
Yes.
A bit.
Yes.
Because we only get the very basics about her in this episode. Some nice little, like, tidbits of information.
There is a novel. I think it's going to be a series of novels on Kyoshi, and I think there's at least one of them out right now, and I want them, but I have not read them, and I don't know the plots. So once we find out more, we will do that. But I love Avatar Kyoshi, at least as a concept. She has the biggest feet out of any avatar.
Size 18 jump.
She was the oldest. She lived the longest out of all of the avatars. And she immediately, we had 2 scenes with her in the entire series, and we immediately knew, oh man, Kyoshi, she'll just fucking murder you. She doesn't give a fuck. Damn.
They did really casually just drop that she was born 400 years ago. Mm-hmm. But Aang was 100 years ago. So that means she was 288.
I mean, there is a 300-year gap that has to have both Avatar Roku and Avatar Kyoshi's lifespans in it.
Roku.
Yeah, Roku's in there somewhere.
Duh. But he was only 60.
Right, yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like Roku lived to be... If he lived to be 100, not much longer than that. But I probably not even that old. And it's... I love Avatar Kyoshi as a general concept. God, she's so good.
And it makes so much sense why this group of women warriors would name themselves and base themselves off of her and her legacy, because she is, God, just so fucking cool.
Kyoshi just has she's just used to making elite fighting units, because she's also responsible for the Dai Li.
Right.
Yeah. And we'll get to the Dai Li more later. That's also fun. So yeah, and we just get a little bit about her. We just get what she looks like. We get the idea that Aang was she was the Avatar before Aang, and we know before Roku. Thank you. I'm sorry.
I know we both made that mistake once. I don't.
Roku doesn't exist.
I don't know why it's so difficult, but
I love Roku. I like Roku. I don't even know why we're forgetting him.
He's fine. He should have listened to Kyoshi.
We'll get to Roku later.
If only he had just listened and done a murder.
That's another thing, and we're talking about Kyoshi now, but we'll get on into this more later too. If Aang is getting all of this guidance from Avatar Roku, you gotta know that Roku had to have been getting the same thing from Kyoshi, and Kyoshi wasn't gonna be as nice to Roku as Roku was to Aang. There's no way in hell. She probably told Roku to kill Sozin the first time he stepped out of line. I can genuinely believe that. I don't know this. I don't have anything to support it. But
was she on vacation or something? She should have stepped out of the fucking spirit realm and just shake some sense into the man.
Yeah. But yeah, so, episode 4, we just get like a real quick snippet, real morsel of it. And I love that. I love the fact that they're just like very slowly introducing this Avatar stuff. They keep touching on it, and I like the fact that like every single episode they touch on it and they give us just a little bit of a different thing.
It builds on itself.
Yeah, and it's very well done. But man, I love Avatar Kyoshi. Another thing that I wanted to talk about. So, while I was watching the Unagi fight, it wasn't really much of a fight. It was really just like Aang running from his, Aang and Katara running for their lives. Katara used like her water bending to like blast back and get out of the water so that she could hold and protect Aang. The Unagi fight really made me think about the like how far Aang and Katara end up going when they have almost exactly the same issue in Serpent's Pass. Like, they fight a water snake dragon thing in Serpent's Pass also, but they are very different characters at that point. They fight they beat that thing easily, honestly. Yeah. It's really cool. I was just watching them and I was like, man, these two, they are very weak right now, but ooh, give them a season. They're getting there. Yeah, they'll get there. I mean, that was just a thing that I noticed that I thought was really cool. I thought it was really fun. That, like, later on we do get something it's a very clear indicator of how well they have trained and how far they've come. Obviously, they're not there yet. They're just beginning, but they will get there.
Oh, one small thing that I found interesting. I don't know. I think that this line was kind of thrown in there to kind of just emphasize the whole girl power plot, but I found it very strange that Zuko came out and one of the first things he says is, these little girls aren't gonna save you. Like, he didn't grow up with Azula. Like, he's gonna underestimate how fucking scary women can be.
You've got a point there. And it's not like they didn't know that Azula existed. We've already seen we already saw the flashback at this point where... No, wait, we didn't.
No, we haven't.
We have not. You're right. I apologize. I mean, like, I still don't believe they didn't have Azula in mind at that point.
Yeah, they seem to have had, like, a basic plot of the whole series planned before they started it.
Yeah, just the way you do these things. I think that's correct. So, yeah, you're right. It's very interesting that they, like, didn't... Like, I mean, that Zuko said something like that when...
Yeah. I just found it kind of funny and out of character. And, like, it doesn't seem out of character if you're watching it for the first time. But once you know Zuko and you know, like, him and his history and his family and you know about Azula, you're like, I don't think he would say that. Yeah. I don't think that he would, like, call the Kyoshi warriors a bunch of little girls.
Yeah. Also, before I forget, I just want to point everyone's attention to in the fight that Zuko had with the Kyoshi warriors, which was actually really quick. There was the one part where he was, like, surrounded by, like, Sokka, Suki, and one other Kyoshi warrior. And what does he do? Cool breakdancing move. Keep note of that, people. Zuko just does breakdancing moves, and that's how he wins his fights. It's really good.
It's amazing.
That is Zuko's fighting style, breakdancing, and I love it.
All of the Zuko Iroh stuff at the beginning of the episode was also just hilarious.
High quality. Don't get angry. Uncle, you told me to be a great leader, I have to keep a calm mind. Whatever it is, I'm sure I can take it. Well, we don't know where he is. Fire everywhere.
That would have been a good golden fuck.
No, we can't.
No, we can't go back.
We can't go back.
It's too late now.
Oof. No.
I still think that I would have voted Painter Man. But
yeah, so it's too late anyway. It's fine.
It's a funny moment. It's also really nice to see, I don't know, him meditating and trying to listen to Iroh's advice.
Right.
And that's kind of the first time in the show that we see that side of him.
That's true.
Even if he, sucks at it and almost burns, his whole room down.
There's a lot of things that have to happen to Zuko before he, really goes to that character growth that we're looking for. But yeah, I mean, and also, please note that he did this after last time we saw Iroh Zuko was when Iroh praised Zuko. Even in exile, effectively son, my nephew is is more honorable than you are. I feel like that had something to do with it, right? Like he probably really might, if he hadn't before, he probably started seeing his uncle in a new light.
Or just, reminded
him. Yeah, that's fair.
I also really love the bit where he's a master of evasive maneuvering. Oh, Zuko. Oh, honey.
We have no idea where
no thoughts, head empty.
You have no idea where we are, do you? I know it's near water. Thanks, Aang.
Oh my god.
Imagine that, and I imagine that, like, at some point there was like there's got to be a little section of them, like, after Zuko's been like added to the group, where Zuko's like, "What's the plan? How are we doing this?" And they're like, "Oh, we're just I don't know. We're going that way." And he's like, "I haven't found you all these years. Like, I was hunting you for months, and your strategy was just to go wherever." Yeah, I don't know what you want. That's all we have today for Season 1, Episode 4, Warriors of Kyoshi.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you'll join us next time when we discuss Season 1, Episode 5, The King of Omashu.
Until next time, remember, just because it's spoiled doesn't mean it's rotten. It's gonna stick. It's gonna be a thing.
I think it will.
All right.
Bye.